Hello there, my name is Relo Kai with Butcherbird Productions, and this is a quick Blender tutorial on how to add a glowing outline in the Blender Compositor. I figured this out this month while making a token for the Foundry VTT, as one of my friends is running a new D&D campaign using it where I am one of the player characters. I wanted to make a couple custom icons for it, and if you've ever seen a Foundry icon, it usually has this nice colored glow around it. I really like using the Blender Compositor to do a lot of effects for my videos, and it's a lot easier to do everything in one program than having to jump from one program to another. I also couldn't really find a good reference for how to do this, but now that I figured it out, you guys have one. Let's get into it. The first thing you need for this to work is you need an image of the object you want the glow around with a transparent background. You can make this image in another image editor like GIMP or Photoshop. Just make sure that what you want outlined has no transparency and the background of it does have transparency. So now let's open up a new session of Blender and delete everything in the 3D viewport if you have things there. I personally don't, as I have set up my default Blender sessions to have a blank viewport. Now we're not going to need the viewport, so go up to the top left here and switch to the Compositor. Check the Use Nodes checkbox in the top left, and in the top right hit Backdrop so it turns blue. Now click Add, and in the search box type Viewer and add that node to your node tree. This will allow us to see our output before we render our image. Delete all the nodes besides your Composite and Viewer nodes, we won't need them. Now go up to Add and add an image node so we can import our image. Press the Open button and navigate to your image that you want to have a glow around. Next, add a glare node and set it to fog glow in the first dropdown and set threshold and mix to 0. Note that mix has a minimum value of -1 and a maximum value of +1, so you have to type in 0 instead of dragging it to the left. Connect the alpha output of your image to the image input of the glare node, and then connect the image output of the glare node to the image input of the viewer and composite nodes. You should now see a white silhouette of your image along with a glow around it. But we need the original image on top, right? Well, this is fairly easy to do. Just add an alpha over node and connect your original image to the bottom image input and your glare to the top image input. You may notice a white outline around your original image, which may or may not be what you want. It could also be that your outline is a bit rougher than you would like. To fix the rough outline, simply turn the pre-multiplied slider in your alpha over node up to max. To fix the white outline around your image, we need to do a few more steps. Some of you who have used Blender before, or maybe used the Compositor before, might think to use a Scale or Transform node. However, I find that scaling your image can be a lot of work depending on how complex it is, or if your image has non-transparent areas that are not a part of the main object, like this one here. A better way to reduce this white outline is to use the Dilate Erode node and put it in between your image and your glare nodes. Now set the Dilate Erode to a negative distance and you should see that white outline go away. You should now have a very nice looking glowing outline to your object. To adjust how far the glow reaches, you can either use the low, medium, high drop down in the glare node, or you can use the size slider, also in the glare node. Low, medium, high actually refers to the number of calculations the glare node is using, so setting it to high will give you a small amount of glow, while low will give you a lot of glow. Size is pretty self-explanatory. The larger the number, the more glow you have. Now this is great and all, but what if you want your glow to be a different color other than white? I originally had it to where I had a hue saturation value node, but I actually figured out a way to just straight up change it to a different color using an RGB node and another mix node set to multiply. Put your multiply node in between the Dilate Erode and glare nodes with the output of Dilate Erode going to the top image input. Then connect the RGB node to the bottom image input of the multiply node and set the factor to 1. Now, whatever you change the RGB node to will be the color of your glow. Now say you want a background other than black. Well, we gotta add a few more nodes. You're going to need a set alpha node, a mix node, an alpha over node, and either an image or an RGB node depending on what you want as your background. Use an image node if you've got a background image, and use an RGB node if you just want a solid color as the background. In the set alpha node, change the mode to replace alpha and connect the alpha output of your original overlay image into both the image and alpha inputs in the set alpha node. Now connect the image output of the set alpha node to the top image input of the mix node, and connect the image output of this alpha over node to the bottom image input of the mix node and set the mix node factor to 1. Now connect the image output of the mix node to the bottom image input of this alpha over node and connect the output of either your image or RGB nodes into the top image input of this alpha over node. Now connect the image output of this alpha over node into both of your viewer and composite nodes. If everything was done correctly, you should now have your glowing image over top of your background image. Now play around with the settings. Once you get the image to a place where you like, go up to the top left, hit render, then hit render image. If everything looks good, go up to image, save, then save it where you want it with a relevant name. And that's it! Compositing in Blender is really useful and a lot more automated than what you can do in something like GIMP or Photoshop. You just have to figure out which nodes to use and where to put them. And in the end, I think it turned out really good. But that's it from me. Hope you found it useful. If you did, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side.